Hey folks, welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we've got a petrified fish. This is, I think, the third petrified fish that I'm reviewing. The first one was quite good, the second one was a piece of garbage. But I found out it was an older model. They're more recent stuff. I was told by a number of viewers in the comments and in emails that they're much better, so I tried again. This is the number 818. It's got a very unique kind of grind, which I quite like. It's decent weight, feels nice, liner lock, deep carry clip, G10. It comes in either this gray stonewash, which is different than just a regular standard stonewash. It's a bit of a deeper, richer kind of gray, as if they put some coating on it first, a light gray coating. It's quite good, or you can get it in satin. So 3 different G10 colors. I think it's black, blue, like a deep blue, and this sort of forest green color, not quite OD green color. Works quite well. Decent flipper, good action. So if you're interested, stick around. The full review is coming in just a few seconds. All right. Here is the knife. Let's take a look at that bevel. You can sort of see it right here. There's a swedge across the top, and then there's a bevel here. It's not a flat. It's actually coming down a little bit, and then there's the main bevel here. It comes up to the spine there, but it's down a little less than halfway right here. Let's take a look at the size of this knife compared to the Ontario Rat 1. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit smaller of a knife, but as far as the cutting edge goes, more cutting edge than the Ontario Rat. It's very close to the same thickness. The handle, it's quite similar from the pivot back to the end. So yeah, it's smaller than the Ontario Rat, which most of the knives I review are a little bit smaller, but it's definitely a full-size knife. If you're new to my channel, I'll let you know my hand size is just barely within the extra large range. It's when I go to buy men's gloves, I usually buy extra large. Sometimes I can find a large that fits, but the extra large often has a little bit more room, so that tells you a little bit about the size. If you're in Europe, that's between like 9 and 10 in the men's glove sizes. The blade, a little bit more about this. We've got some jimping on the spine right there. Even though it's swedged in, it still offers good traction with the thumb on there. I wish it was just a little bit longer, but it's not bad jimping. And then we've got this drop point, and the belly here, it almost, if you don't look at the grinds at all, it looks very much like a spear point style tip, because the tip here is about in the middle from the spine to the grind. You could call it a drop point blade as well. And that stonewash, let's see if I can get it focused here a little closer. I like that stonewash a lot. I'm a stonewash kind of guy anyways, and I like it being a little darker. Mostly because my hands get very oily, oilier than the average guy, and so fingerprints are everywhere on satin. But if you like satin, like I said, they do have satin. Hopefully I got some pictures of the satin grind. It's nice and thin behind the grind. This thing has been slicing wonderfully, and the tip worked with a nice fine tip without being too terribly thin at the tip to be weak. It's just a well-made knife. They did pretty decent sharpening. At the heel, they did go a fair bit steeper, but that's only for the first 1/8 of an inch, not even the first 1/4 of an inch. It's a little bit steep. Sharpness choil, reasonable. It's a little shallow this way, but not bad at all. And if you look carefully here, you can sort of see 2 different plunges, and that's because of the way they did this dual grind, which I thought I might not like. I thought that it might be too thick behind the grind back here, but it's not bad at all. The flipper here, it's got a little bit of jimping on it, 3 little lines milled into it. That offers good traction. Light switch method, pulling straight back works great. And pushing down on about a 45-degree angle the blade comes flying out as well. The detent is very good, pretty much perfect. That's exactly what I want to see on a knife like this. Let's talk about the handle. We've got 3D milling. There's like a fuller kind of trench that goes right down the middle of it. Oh, there, that's a good angle. You can see it in the shadows. It's a little bit wider at this end, and it comes down to just the diameter, well, just a tiny bit over the diameter of these screws back here. They are button screws, which I don't like on, recessed button screws, but, that's okay. The handle here, you can see you've got a choil here for your index finger, and then you've got a bit of a bulge on the belly of the handle, and then it comes back again. The spine is pretty much straight with some big blocky jimping back here for the back spacer. When you're holding the knife, it's actually very comfortable. It's most comfortable in the left hand, actually, but in the right hand, it's fairly comfortable as well, because they did, chamfer the edges and round them off a bit. Very nice grip. The lock release, very easy access to it. Easy to get your thumb in there. They put a nice chamfer on it to disengage the lock. That works very, very well. You don't have to push too hard, yet the lock is fully engaged. No blade play side to side, up and down. Engagement is exactly what I like to see on a new knife. It says that there's steel ball bearings in here. I've not taken it apart yet. The detent looks almost like it's a ceramic ball, but we'll see when I take it apart in just a few minutes. We've got recessed liners. It's lightly skeletonized on this side. They could have skeletonized it more. Like the balance point is right there. If they would have skeletonized it to make it a bit lighter, they could have brought the balance point over here. So they would have lightened this off. I would have preferred that. I like the balance point right where your index finger lays, like just behind the pivot pin. Not bad. We've got something really cool back here. This blocky back spacer hides, well, that doesn't hide. The handle scale here in this back spacer hides the lanyard hole. Yes, there is a lanyard hole. Look at on this side. There's the lanyard hole. It's just through this one layer of G10. I kind of like that. It's different. It means that the paracord won't bulk out on both sides, but you've already got a bit of something coming out here. The pocket clip comes out, so the paracord coming out there as well. It won't make an extra bulge in the hand, which I quite like. Very good design for that lanyard hole. The pocket clip, it's a deep carry pocket clip. Button screws, again, that I don't like. There's just enough room in there so that when it goes into the pocket, it does bottom out every time, so that's good. I would have liked the pocket clip to be a little bit closer to the end of the handle. Not bad. David Chen is the designer. His name's on the pocket clip right here. And the pocket clip has that flat top, so not hot in the hand at all. Let's take a look at how well it goes into the pocket. Wants to climb over right away. And like I said, it buries itself all the way to the end every time. And since the G10 is fairly dark, it sits in the pocket quite well. I would have liked this clip to be stonewashed as well. That would be nicer, but not bad. And again, with the lanyard hole here, paracord doesn't come and push on this side between your pocket and the knife. It just sits on this side of it. So yeah, well made as far as that goes. Now, I've not even adjusted the pivot pin. It's going to be a D-shaped pivot pin because, you can't get a screwdriver on this side. It says PF there. But let's take the thing apart and see how it looks. So here it is taken apart. Yep, we've got D-shaped pivot pin, D-shaped holes that it go into. Again, no skeletonizing on this side. And on this side, you've got 5 little holes. I wish they would have made those a bit bigger. It's a little bit of oil back here, even on the, where the back spacer is. It's gotten a little bit dirty in there, but at least they've got a nice thin oil in there. And yes, those are steel ball bearings. There is 2, 4, 6, 10 ball bearings in there, which is quite nice. It's a well-made knife. Very simple. There's a little bit of Loctite in the main pivot screw, but it came out without too much challenge. It wasn't too tight. These other screws don't have any Loctite or anything. They came out no problem. I didn't think there was any risk of it getting stripped or anything. Well, I've cleaned everything up to reassemble it, and I noticed, you know, the detent slides along here. I doubt it's intentional. I think they just deburred it, but it created a tiny bit of a detent ball ramp right there. It worked really well to close the knife, so I'm not going to change that at all. I'll just reassemble this and then continue on with the dimensions and stuff. Before we go over all the dimensions, I forgot to mention blade centering. It's a very well centered blade. Quite nice. We'll have this on the screen while we talk about the measurements, weights, all that kind of stuff. 104 grams, 3.65 ounces. So yeah, they might have been able to get it to right on 3.5 ounces, but not bad at all for a full-size knife. The cutting edge length, oh, got a little bit of oil on there. The cutting edge length and the blade length tipped to the closest spot on the G10. It's actually very, very close to the same, almost identical. So let's say 89.7 millimeters, 3.531 inches for both. The blade thickness measured at the flat here, the ricasso area, the thickest spot there, 3.34 millimeters, that's 0.1315 inches, so it started off just over 1/8 of an inch thick. The blade depth, the widest spot, pretty close to the middle of the blade right here, 23.1 millimeters, 0.909 inches. The thickness behind the grind, pretty much, you know, 1/3 of the way up is where I measured it, 0.38 millimeters, 15/1000 of an inch. And very close to the same anywhere along the length, except for right here at the heel, it's a little bit thicker. The handle length now, let's close this guy up. 114.8 millimeters, 4.519. So 4.5 inches with a 3.5 inch blade, not bad. The grip area, after the flipper tab, back to here, it's about 9.5 centimeters, about 3 3/4 inches, give or take a tiny bit. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, 13.3 millimeters, 0.523 of an inch. Not bad at all, especially considering we've got a major chamfer. It's just 2 little spots that is that thick, so it's really actually feels more like a just under 1/2 of an inch thick handle. The handle depth, it's biggest right here, 23.5 millimeters, 0.925 of an inch. When the knife is closed, the widest spot's back here, 28.4 millimeters, 1.118 inches. And the total length of the knife when the blade is deployed, 204.7 millimeters, 8.059 inches. So yeah, an 8-inch knife, 4.5, 3.5, very good proportions. You know, the balance between blade length and handle length is very good, and the actual balance I already mentioned. This is a decent knife. It feels good, it looks good, it functions well, it's thin behind the grind for slicing, it's got a nice tip for cutting. The jimping, yeah, it could be a little bit longer. The screws, yeah, I would like regular flush screws instead of button screws, but those are very minor cons. A little more skeletonizing maybe. There's nothing big that's wrong with this knife. A lot of the little things are done well, like the sharpness choil, the lock release, you know, the blade centering, everything about the pivot, you know, nice ball bearings. It's a good knife. If you're in the market for this, you'll want to get one. The only place I found this and where I bought mine was on AliExpress, $27.99 American. Unfortunately, they will not ship to Canada, at least the one store that I found that has this. I had mine shipped to the United States and had a friend mail it up to me in Canada. So yeah, unfortunately, Canadians, you're going to have a tough time getting this unless you know somebody in the United States of America. And even then, you still have a risk bringing it into Canada because of border security doesn't like flipper knives, right? And You know, I have about 3 to 4% of my knives get confiscated at the border, a very low number. And that's mostly because I get most of my knives from White Mountain Knives. You can save 10% there, and every single knife I've ordered from him has gotten through. Unfortunately, this knife is not at White Mountain Knives. So yeah, there's nothing that I really dislike about this, and lots of things that I like. At the price that it is, I totally recommend it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. And bye for now.